Hey guys, let me know if you can hear me. We'll get started in a few minutes.
I can hear you.
Great, Jen. Thank you. Okay, guys, I'm going to share my screen. So just let me know when you see it.
Yep, it's up.
Okay, great. I'm going to see if a few more people join and then we'll get started. Okay, guys, I'm going to have it kind of minimized so I can see if anybody else is coming into the room. Um, So welcome. I am instructor Lucenti, and I will pause as I'm admitting more people to the room, so bear with me. Welcome to Managing Quality. I'm really excited to be having a kickoff call in week 2 because I think it gives all of my students a chance to experience their first week and ask questions. So welcome and thank you for joining me tonight. And I'm going to go to our next slide. This is my picture, so welcome. And I have office hours. I'm a virtual professor, so just keep that in mind. But I do have office hours Monday and Tuesdays from 6:30 to 9 p.m. Eastern time, and on Saturdays from 1 to 2 Eastern time. There's also a phone number. It is my personal cell. So I provide it to students. If you guys need to reach me or have any specific questions about assignments, you can also text me. I just ask that you tell me your name and which section you are in for this class. I've invited 2 sections to this kickoff call tonight. So just keep that in mind. I do teach 2 sections of managing quality. And then there's my email address if you want to reach me. I did get married, so this is my LinkedIn page, but I encourage all my students to feel free to link in with me. And it's under April Kenshin instead of Lucenti, but I've kept my professor name. So feel free to link in and say hi. Course outcomes, really this is about total quality management and just understanding the process of how an organization's culture can impact its process in a positive way and also a negative way. And we're going to talk about the final project tonight and how we're pointing out a quality issue with a major company. So as you're thinking about what company you want to write about, think about companies that have maybe been in the recent news or whatnot that have been impacted by a quality issue. So we want to determine how a quality approach is important, recognize the importance of managing quality to improve the organization, as well as its competitive advantage. We're going to learn about a variety of critical tools and techniques to implement quality improvement at the organization. We're going to discuss key elements to improve and change an organization and its behavior. Like I said, I'm teaching 2 sections of this course. Engagement and attendance are critical to your success. Adhering to due dates is critical for me because if I get anything late, it takes me a minute to get to you sometimes. And I know a lot of people are experiencing all kinds of challenges right now, and I will work with you, but it's important for you to have a communication with me before you turn in anything late. We are back to our normal late submission policy this term. So if you're late, it'll be 10% for each week you are late with an assignment. So keep that in mind. Discussion threads, I'm looking for participation, guys, with your peers, but also when you're posting an initial post, it's great to have an opinion, but you want to make sure that you pull in a citation. Maybe you pull in a citation from the textbook to support your point of view. So start getting used to that at this level of college writing, at this level in your degree. It's important to have an opinion, but support it with a citation. So I'm looking for that in the initial citation, not to your peers, but just to substantively support what you're putting there for your peers to read. Completing quizzes by the deadline. I can't unlock quizzes or adjust quizzes necessarily. So they're built into the course. So it's important to be on time with your quizzes in this class. And then just getting your assignments in on time is key to your success. Here's some cool resources, and don't worry, I'm going to put the slides in an announcement after our call, but these are cool resources about everything you can think of regarding total quality management. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm an audio visual learner, so I think it's important to have some videos and some examples like that to put things in perspective when you're reading this material. So ASQ is a great site, lots of free videos on that site about total quality management. And then the Cambridge site, Cambridge University site, is huge on total quality management. And so they have a lot of resources and great videos to support your reading. Now for expectations. This is a breakdown of the course. It's 1,000 points total. And as you can see, we have our discussions broken out. That's your getting started discussion you were graded on last week. And then you'll notice our discussions are a little unique in this course, probably compared to some of the other courses you've been part of. The 2-week discussions, and I'm just checking to see if anybody's waiting. Okay, the 2-week discussions, there's 4. So essentially in this situation, you start with your first week, your initial thread comment. And then in the second week, you're doing your 2 peer posts. So that's a little different than probably what you're used to. It has a total point value of 180 points. And then we have our case studies. We have 3 of those, totaling 300 points. Quizzes, again, we have 2, totaling of 150. And then we've got the final project, which is the final project essay or the submission at the bottom there. It's 265. And then milestone 1 and 2 will contribute to that because it's about your final project. So we'll talk about that in a second. Just want to remind you, our institute has a plagiarism policy, so we want to avoid that as much as possible. What I tell students is always be paraphrasing a quote. Don't necessarily just copy and paste things into your paper. That's going to trigger a Turnitin score and trigger a plagiarism issue. So I tell students, take that quote, paraphrase it into your own words and cite it still. In-text citation in your essay is important. So, and here's another thing. Don't feel like you have to have a quote for every paragraph. You want to, if you're using 3 resources, for example, in your reference page, you want to make sure you're pulling a quote or paraphrase quote from each of those. And I always say, sprinkle it into your paper. Okay, I don't want to see a whole paper that's all quoted material because it's going to trigger a Turnitin that's higher than 50%. And that's when I have to pause and take a look at it and say, what's going on here? You want the majority of the paper, and these are short papers, to be your words, your original writing. And you want to get in the habit anyway. And then obviously it's original. Here's what I do as a student, and I've been a student a while. I'm about to finish my dissertation, but I write something first, and then I go back and add the resources that I want to support the paper with. I go back and add the in-text citation in the essay, drawing from the reference page. So think about it that way, and that will always be small. Your similarity score will always be less than 30%. So I think it's a good guideline just to say, hey, I'm going to write the paper first. I did the research, and then I'm going to pull some really good quotes in from the resources I'm using, but not make it all about the resources, if that makes sense. Remember, it's more your writing than the actual research. You're just adding a few quotes to support it. I want to remind you have a writing center here at Southern Hampshire, and you can reach that by clicking on online student services in your portal. And they will do a drop off. They're pretty cool. They have a writing center and you can drop your paper off and they will respond back to you and give you some support as to what you can change and fix from a articulation standpoint, but also a formatting standpoint. APA style, if you're not sure, I use now the 7th edition. I think the university's moved to that. I got this for like $8 online and I use it for my own writing. But here's what I'm looking for when you're using paraphrased material. You're taking a quote that's somebody else's, you're rewriting it in your own words, and you're still citing that author. So for example, the one below, Webster Stratton 2016, described a case example of blah, blah, blah. And then I'm putting the page numbers. Another option for you, if you're paraphrasing, you can go Jones, 1998, that's the article year. Found students often had difficulty using APA style. And then you want to end it with an in-text citation here with the author and the year. Either way, I'm good, but I wanted to give you 2 examples. That's 7th edition APA that you could use. And of course, the Purdue OWL is great for all things APA. So I put that there as an additional resource. And again, I just want to kind of emphasize the late penalty and also missing your 2 peer posts. You've taken 50% off the assignment up front. So what you want to do is make sure you do not miss that 2 peer posts in the second week of a discussion thread so that you get full maximum points, okay? Here are our assignments, and we have 2 this week. Week 2, milestone 1 is can be anywhere from 2 to 3 pages. You want to identify your chosen company for the final project, and you want to pick a company that's well known for quality issues and has research to utilize. I'm looking for scholarly research. I put a video in my announcements on what I mean by that, but it's stuff that, you know, academics have written about to identify a quality issue. It's not Wikipedia. That's not a resource. It's not a blog. It's not necessarily a magazine article. I'm looking for where an academic wrote about this quality issue. That's scholarly. When you go in and use the library, it always has options. What are you looking for? You want to click scholarly and peer reviewed, and that will bring in resources about your company. There are several scholarly resources right now out there about these recent quality issues. One in particular, the Boeing situation with, I think it's their 737. There's lots of stuff out there that I didn't list here, but Wells Fargo having the issue with, creating fake accounts. That was a pretty big one. Johnson & Johnson, their issue. Toyota has had some issues that's very documented. Nike, Samsung. I have a Samsung, and a couple of years ago, they were kind of catching fire on planes. That's got a lot of research there that can support. Volkswagen. And the list goes on. Volkswagen had diesel cars that they said were clean and that were polluting our environment for years. So that was a big case, and there's lots of research out there. But the important point I want to emphasize, I always have students reach out and say, can I use my own company? Not a good idea if you don't have scholarly research out there that identifies the quality issue at your company. Does that make sense? So if you're at a small company and you want to write about your company, but there's no research to support your quality issue at that company, that's not going to fulfill your final project requirement. So keep that in mind. You want to write with something that's very known, a known issue that's been talked about, that's in the research, and our librarians can definitely help you find that if you're looking at a specific company. Week 2, again, this is your second assignment due this week, is the case study on FedEx. Again, that's 1 to 2 pages. In particular, I want to point this out because everybody misses this in the rubric. You want to use 2 of Deming's 14 points of management. You want to use at least 2 sources in your reference page. And you want to provide in-text citation to tie back to your sources you are using in your essay. And you want to review the directions rubrics for every assignment. I say this on each slide, and somebody will miss a whole section of the rubric and I have to put 0, and that can totally shift your entire grade. It's not on purpose. I have to grade per college, per rubric in this class. So make sure you're looking at the rubrics and you've met all the key elements of the assignment. You're looking at the assignment directions so you don't miss anything critical. So those are the 2 that we have due this week. Week 3 is called the Voice of the Customer. We'll be focusing on that. That's 1 to 2 pages at essay, and you want to use, again, Deming's point of view here. At least 2 sources, provide in-text citation to tie to your source, and review the assignment directions and rubrics. Your final project outline is in week 5. You don't have an assignment in week 4. You just have a quiz, which is good. Little week off. Take the quiz, and you've got your discussion, and you're done. Week 5 is your final project outline, and I have a lot of students ask me about this. It's just a normal outline, okay? But I will put an example in there, a template you can use for your outline, so no worries. This is a weird assignment. It's a pass or fail. So you do have to meet each element of the outline, okay? So for each critical element, you want to have 1 to 2 bullet points for each critical element. So if I say I'm talking about critical element 1, that's in the assignment directions, I'm going to have 2 bullets for each of those. And you want to just kind of focus on the crux of what you're trying to talk about with your ultimate final project essay. So take a look at the assignment directions. If you have any questions about that, please let me know, okay? And then week 6 is DMAIC, and which stands for Define, Measure, Analyze, Improve, and Control. You're going to do 1 paragraph for each step, each DMAIC step. 2 sources and in-text citations inside your essay to tie to reference page, and it's 1 to 2 pages. Kind of a short paper, but you want to make sure you're using all of these when you're going through. all of the steps. Week 7, not 8, your final project is due, okay? And I'm going to cover this rubric in a second because it's a lot of information. It is 265 points. It's a big chunk of your grade. So it's important to start thinking about it now. Your 2 assignments this week, in particular, the one that focuses on the company, is very relatable to the final project because that's what will be what your final project is about. So whatever you pick as the company this week is the company that will be addressed in week 7. You want to review all the rubrics. I have people miss 6 out of the many critical elements and they fail. And I don't have enough time to go back and regrade going into week 8. So I really want you guys to pay attention to the rubrics and make sure you meet everything to maximize your 265 points. I want you to get the best grade possible. One of the things that gets missed, and I don't know why, so I just put it here, is the voice of the customer in the rubrics. So for some reason, every student I have skips this. It's in the rubric. It's a chunk of points. If you miss it, you're going to drop possibly a letter grade or half a letter grade. So keep in mind, you want, again, look at every rubric and make sure you've met every section of your paper. You must have 4 scholarly resources with in-text citations in the essay, and it must be 68 pages, not counting the title and reference page. So in all, if you do 6 pages, it's 8 pages total. If you do 8, it's 10, separate from the title and reference page. So keep that in mind. So 68 pages of content. And then here's your rubric, just to kind of give you kind of a look-see. This is, and I can go kind of like from the beginning now, wait a second, but hold on. Okay. So as you can see, it's pretty extensive. It's has to be an APA. It has to have a cover letter. It has to have a reference page. It's separate. Like I said, 68 pages. And then you'll see there's several critical elements here. Well, there's 2 pages of that. So you're talking about the company and the background, the history, the actual issue that occurred, what their culture is like. Do they have a culture of quality? The voice of the customer, again, this is always missed. So, that's 7 points. So you could have 100 and we're now down to a 93. So keep that in mind. Change management plan. What is the plan to change? What would you recommend if you were the CEO, to make changes happen at the company for the future? Quality theories. This is missed too. We're going to discuss quality theories throughout the term. It's important that you list quality theories here, subject to your final project. That's 9 points. So make sure you're familiar with the rubric. Quality tools and techniques. That is 18 points. So I want to make sure you have at least 3 or more quality tools mentioned here. And then implementing change. How would you implement the change that you're suggesting? What would the resistance to change be based on their culture? That's a good one. Expected outcomes. And then here is research and articulation of response. It's really APA and grammar I'm looking at, and then your research. Notice if you don't have any research and you don't have a reference page and you're not using in-text citation, this could be 5 points off your grade. So you want to have at least 4 or more scholarly references. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and open it up to anybody that has any questions.
Hi, Jennifer. How are you?
Hi, Jennifer. I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Just a quick question. So I chose Tesla for my project. So I'm obviously putting it in my own words about the history and everything. Should at the end of the paragraph where I'm like paraphrasing it and redoing it, can I put the APA style there, or should I do it like after like every couple of sentences?
Well, the whole, are you talking about this week's assignment where you're picking the company?
Yeah, so I'm doing the history portion first, obviously. So I'm
Okay.
going through their website and doing the synopsis on their history.
Okay. So do me a favor, don't do a copy and paste. Remember, it's going to trigger a similarity score. So we're trying to avoid that. So just paraphrase it, put it in your own words about the company history. If you're citing the actual site, like their company site, say, just make sure you have an in-text citation. Remember, if it's more than 40 words, you have to indent it, especially for APA. And you have to obviously put your in-text citation at the end. If you're using something like you just want to take a whole paragraph, it has to have quotes, it has to have an in-text citation, and it has to be indented when you're using 40 or more words. So keep that in mind. Just look at APA 7th edition. If you're using a quote, how long can it be? Should it all be paraphrased? Should it, if it's one big quote, it has to come in on your paper. So keep that in mind. I know a lot of people like to do just a copy and paste on the history. I don't recommend doing that. I would just kind of do a brief history of the company, paraphrase it in your own words. But if you really do want to use a section of the website, just remember to, quotes and bring it in if it's more than 40 words. Hope that helps.
Thank you.
Anyone else? You guys are quiet tonight. We got a small group. Well, I'm going to be recording this and sending out the slides. And again, if you have any questions, I do one-on-ones during office hours. I'm also available on Saturdays too, so check that out. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have regarding any assignment that's coming up. These two this week are pretty short and sweet. But I think the one about, picking your company is going to be critical this week because you want to make sure you pick the right one that has plenty of research to support your ultimate large final project at the end of the course. But if we have no questions or anything, I'm going to cut this short and give you back your time. And like I said, I'll put this in with the slides into the announcements tomorrow. I'm excited about working with all of you guys. Let's have an amazing term and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.